This is the story of Toronto Pearson Airport in Canada, where a thief continuously robbed that airport for 15 years between 1985 and 2000, and the police couldn't reach him even after 15 years. He executed these thefts so cleanly that police were examining every CCTV footage from every angle. The police even deployed their undercover agents to catch this thief. But still, they got nothing. You'll be surprised to know that in these 15 years, the value of all the goods he stole reached up to $4 million, which amounts to approximately 33 crores in today's currency. So who was this thief? How did he execute these robberies? And how was he finally caught by the police? You'll be shocked to know this. The story begins at Pearson Airport, which is Canada's largest and busiest international airport. And because of this reason, this airport has the largest cargo terminal, where thousands of shipments keep coming and going throughout the day. And this process continues 24/7 non-stop. This cargo terminal had almost everything from around the world, from food and drinks to clothes, and from electronics to every valuable item. Everything passed through this terminal. That's why Pearson Airport had deployed about 100 police officers and 20 police dogs for security there. The security there was so tight that if anyone even tried to steal something, they would be caught immediately. And this was the reason why many workers were either fired from their jobs or sent to jail for attempting small thefts. But despite such tight security, there was one person who kept stealing from this cargo terminal for almost 15 years and went from being an ordinary worker earning $100 per month to becoming a millionaire. Although this thief had started his robberies in 1985, the Pearson Airport Administration only began to suspect something in 1992. It was quite shocking that these thefts had been happening for the past 7 years, and the airport administration was only now starting to suspect that valuable goods were disappearing from their cargo terminal. Upon investigation, it was discovered that cameras, hard disks, computers, and many other valuable items were missing from their cargo terminal, worth approximately $3 million. Seeing this, they were completely shocked. And the airport administration and police immediately sprang into action and started their investigation. But the police were repeatedly troubled by one question: how was this thief managing to escape from the airport even after such tight security, without anyone getting suspicious and without anyone knowing? Because the security there was so tight that CCTV cameras were installed in every corner of the airport, and the guards there wouldn't let anyone enter or exit the cargo terminal without checking their ID cards. During their investigation, the police doubled the security. Now, along with checking the ID cards of those working in the cargo terminal, their pockets, lunchboxes, and bags were also being checked. And new CCTV cameras were also installed, which were monitored 24/7. But neither did these thefts stop, nor did the police get any leads. And like this, valuable goods kept disappearing from this cargo terminal for years. Since the cargo terminal was very large, thousands of shipments came and went there daily. And in the 90s, there was no inventory storage system either. This meant that whatever shipments arrived were taken to corners of the warehouse according to their categories, but no record of them was kept in any system or register. And this was the reason why the airport administration found out about this theft so many years later. The police also received news of this theft so late that they started feeling that even if there was any evidence of the theft, it would have disappeared by now, and the police weren't getting anywhere either. Then the police decided that they would now directly interrogate the cargo terminal workers. But the workers working there had been working together for years and had now become like a family, like a gang. When police asked them indirect questions, all of their answers were exactly the same. This troubled the police a lot, and they didn't get anything from this interrogation either. Then the police arrived at a theory that inside the airport, an entire criminal gang was executing these thefts in a very organized manner. The police also felt that this gang was executing these thefts in collaboration with the airport's higher authorities. That's why they knew about every route, every camera angle, and every security check of the airport, which is why they could easily escape. And in this entire theft, security supervisors, managers, and truck drivers were all helping them. But when the police found out about the thief, they were completely shocked. This thief was neither a supervisor nor a director who knew every inch of the airport. Nor was it a criminal gang, but a truck driver who had executed all these thefts alone. So who was this truck driver, and how did he execute these thefts among such high security and so many security cameras? This truck driver's name was Ho Lamang, who was from Vietnam and had come to the city of Toronto, Canada in 1980 with just $50 in his pocket. His only purpose behind coming to Canada was that he wanted to become rich as soon as possible, no matter what he had to do for it. He knew very well that to become rich, he would have to make very good connections with people. That's why whenever he met someone, he would treat them with great love and a smile. And that's why he made friends with people very quickly. After some time, Lamang met Teresa. Teresa was also from Vietnam and had settled in Canada. After just a few meetings, both fell in love and got married. After marriage, Ho Lamang started living with Teresa in her house, where she lived with her stepson Benny. Teresa worked in a shipping company, and with her help, Ho Lamang got a job as a truck driver in the shipping company. His job was to load cargo shipments from Pearson Airport into his truck and deliver them to their owners in the city. And his salary that was fixed for this was $100 per month, which was a very small amount for Ho Lamang compared to his dreams. Ho Lamang, who delivered all the cargo goods to every address himself, got a very good idea that the goods in these cargo shipments were very valuable. And then his mind came up with that unique way of stealing these valuable goods, which kept the police and airport authority dancing for 15 years. But the biggest problem for Lamang was that if he stole directly from these cargoes, he would get caught. And then he decided that he would go inside Pearson Airport's cargo terminal and steal from there. But he neither had an ID card, nor did he work at that airport. And without showing an ID card, no one was allowed to go inside. And those who worked there had to wear their ID cards around their necks at all times. And because of this reason, he had to wait outside that warehouse with his truck, where workers would bring cargo shipments from inside and load them into his truck. As I told you before, Ho Lamang was very skilled at making connections with people. And that's why he made very good connections with the warehouse workers who came to load goods into his truck. For this, he gave them small gifts several times and also invited them to his house for meals. This made the friendship between the workers and Ho Lamang quite deep. Along with making connections and friendships, Ho Lamang was also keeping a special eye on which of these workers needed money the most, who had the lowest salary, and who had loans that they needed to pay off. Because he knew very well that whatever workers were going through these situations would very easily agree to take bribes. One morning, a worker was loading cargo shipments into Ho Lamang's truck when Ho Lamang went to him and told him to load some extra shipments into his truck without telling anyone. And in return, he would give him $2,000. The worker was shocked to hear this. And since he was getting more money at once than his salary, he immediately agreed to do this work. That worker knew very well that the cargo terminal was so big that even if some shipments went missing from there, no one would find out. This was Ho Lamang's first step in theft, which he had successfully moved forward. Now he came back to his house and opened that cargo shipment, which was completely filled with electronic goods and was worth approximately $100,000. This was the first theft in which Ho Lamang had made $100,000 worth of goods disappear by paying just $2,000. Now the biggest task for Lamang was to sell these electronic items, for which he had to find buyers. And then he sold this stolen goods to computer and electronic shops at lower prices than the market. And in the same way, he again got a cargo shipment loaded into his truck by giving some bribe. But this time, instead of electronics, clothes came out. Although their value wasn't as much as the electronic items, still the goods in it were worth much more than the bribe he had given, and he sold them too to people at lower prices than the market. And like this, his theft cycle had started. On one side, he started making different workers disappear cargo shipments by giving bribes, and on the other side, he started selling the goods that came out of them to different people. This made his network and his grip very strong. Now he had a very big team of workers who were working for him while staying in the cargo terminal. And from here begins the journey of Ho Lamang from an ordinary truck driver to a very rich thief. But he was still facing a very big problem. And that was that the cargo shipments that he made disappear by giving bribes were completely sealed from outside, due to which it couldn't be known what was inside. Sometimes clothes would come out, sometimes shoes, sometimes electronics. And that's why he had to find different new buyers every time, which was causing him a lot of trouble in selling the stolen goods. Then he decided that now he would tell Teresa, who was his wife and worked with him in the shipping company, about his thefts and work with her. The reason behind taking Teresa along was that in the shipping company office, Teresa was in the department where cargo shipment documentation work was done, from which it could easily be found out which shipment was coming when, from which flight it was coming, where it would be kept, what goods were in it, and what would be its price. Hearing Ho Lamong's words, Teresa agreed to support him. Now Ho Lamong started keeping an eye mostly on valuable shipments because he already knew their location information, where he would get those valuable shipments removed by giving bribes to his men. And since he already knew what was in that shipment, he would make their deal beforehand. This meant that before the shipment came into his hands, it was already sold. Now Ho Lamong's greed started increasing, and he now started making big shipments disappear, along with small shipments. Where he used to steal 1 or 2 shipments per day before, he now started stealing 3 to 4 shipments. But due to stealing more shipments, he started having many problems. Since big shipments had a lot of goods, and therefore to sell them, he now needed even more buyers, and it was becoming quite difficult for Lamong to handle all this alone. This meant that he was stealing more shipments, but due to lack of proper distribution and manpower, he couldn't sell them. Then he decided that he would include his wife's stepson Benny with him. Benny agreed to work with Ho Lamong and took responsibility for selling and distributing all the shipment goods. Now, Benny needed buyers who would buy all the shipment goods from him at once. And for this, he got fake bills made for those shipments and also got visiting cards printed for himself with a fake name. Now, wherever he went to sell shipment goods, he would give people visiting cards and tell them that he had come from a shipping company and his name was Joe Young, which made shop owners believe that they were buying all legal goods from a genuine person. Although Benny was selling all the goods of these shipments very skillfully and very cleanly, the biggest problem they faced was that due to repeatedly stealing shipments, so much goods had accumulated with them that there was no place to keep them now. As I told you before, more shipments had been stolen, but due to lack of proper distribution, they couldn't be sold. Now, to deal with this problem, Ho Lamong needed a big and safe place where he could easily keep all the goods and the police couldn't reach him either. That's why he bought 2 houses that were next to each other. He started living in one house himself and started using the other as a storage warehouse. The 2 houses that Ho Lamong had bought had other houses around them as well, where his neighbors often saw him bringing and taking goods from the storage warehouse. This seemed very strange to them, and they were forced to think about what their neighbor was bringing and taking from there day and night. Ho Lamong had gotten wind of the fact that his neighbors had started looking at him with suspicion, and then he again tried his old trick. He went to all his neighbors one by one and introduced himself, telling them that he had just recently come to live in the neighborhood and also brought gifts for them. Some people also asked him why there were shipment goods in his house, to which he told them that he worked in the shipping industry and sometimes he used his house as a warehouse. Since Ho Lamong treated his neighbors very well, and because of his warehouse story, the neighbors' suspicion of him ended. Since Ho Lamong didn't have proper demand and supply, he had fewer buyers and more cargo shipments, so his second house was also completely filled with goods. And then came the 90s. This was the era when the internet had already knocked on America's door, and along with this, some online selling websites had also come on the internet, one of which was eBay.com. Ho Lamong started selling his stolen goods at cheap prices on eBay. Now Lamong started getting orders from all over the world along with Canada, which he started packing and processing from his storage warehouse, and soon his sales reached $50,000 per month. And like this, he kept selling his goods on eBay for many years. Now, whatever cargo shipments he stole, they all sold very easily. This theft continued for a full 15 years, And in this, those who supported Ho Lamang the most were the workers working in the cargo terminal. Those workers were also so loyal because in these 15 years, Ho Lamang had paid off their loans, paid their hospital bills, and helped them with money from time to time. And then, on the morning of November 21st, 2001, the phone rang at Toronto Police Station. The person on the phone told the police that his computer store had been robbed. This was a theft that had nothing to do with Ho Lamang. But this theft got Ho Lamang's entire theft operation caught. The police reached the crime scene and started investigation and saw that mostly hard drives had been stolen from that store. When the police checked the records of the serial numbers of those hard drives, those serial numbers matched with the serial numbers of hard drives stolen from the airport. This was the moment when the police had achieved their biggest success. Now the police started interrogating the store owner about where he had bought these hard drives, to which he told them that he had bought these hard drives from a person named Joe Young, who had come from a shipping company. The store owner also gave the police Joe Young's contact number. Upon investigating the number, the police found out that Joe Young's number was registered in the name of someone called Benny, the same Benny who was Ho Lamang's stepson. Now the police put Benny's phone under surveillance and started keeping a close watch on him. The police caught Benny while he was taking goods out of his storage warehouse and seeing the rest of the goods inside that warehouse. It didn't take the police long to understand that this was the same goods that had been stolen from Pearson Airport for the past 15 years. After taking Benny into custody, the police interrogated him strictly, after which Benny confessed everything about Lamang. But the police wanted to catch Ho Lamang red-handed. So instead of arresting him, the police started keeping an eye on him. To catch him red-handed, the police followed his truck, where he went from the shipping company to the airport and loaded cargo shipments into his truck from there, delivered them to people, and took the stolen shipments to his storage warehouse. This was the moment when the police raided Ho Lamang's house and arrested him and Teresa, along with the warehouse full of stolen goods. The police were amazed to see the number of stolen shipments, and along with that, the police recovered a lot of cash from their house which they had hidden inside beds, in sofas, between stairs, and in Benny's room. The total amount of that recovered cash was $1.2 million. Now, all three, Ho Lamang, Teresa, and Benny, were charged with theft and possession of stolen goods. Before the trial, Ho Lamang told the police that he would confess his crime and would also cooperate in recovering the rest of the stolen goods, but in return, they would have to release Teresa and Benny. He confessed his crime in front of the police, got the stolen goods recovered, and also returned the $3 million he had earned from it. Due to his cooperation, the police released Teresa and Benny, and Ho Lamang's sentence was also reduced from 12 years to 2 years. This was the story of that cunning thief who kept throwing dust in the eyes of police and airport authority for 15 years and kept stealing. How did you like this story? Please write and tell me in the comments section. Like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.